This is Josh White with JW Math Tutoring. This video is basically all of the introduction videos for my new Improve Your ACT Math Score course that's currently available on Teachable. So you'll see parts of this video that will talk about who the intended audience for the course is, how the course is structured, the actual content that's featured in the different modules in the course. Also, there will be some general tips about the math section of the ACT, as long as required materials, and some more information as well. So if you have questions about my Improve Your ACT Math Score course, feel free to leave them in the comments below, or you can always reach out to me on Facebook, on Instagram, or on Reddit as well. As always, if you like my videos, find them informative and entertaining, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and also hit notifications so that basically you'll be made aware the next time I post another video. So let's go ahead and get started.
But life is a dream that calculus could never predict.
Hi. My name is Josh White, and I'd like to thank you for coming to take a look at my Improve Your ACT Math Score online course. This course is designed to help you improve your ACT math score by not only teaching you the strategies and techniques that you can use on the math section of the ACT, but also showing you how you can use a graphing calculator to help you solve problems entirely or assist in solving problems on the ACT math section as well. In addition, it will review many topics in math related to algebra, geometry, probability, and statistics, along with some other miscellaneous topics as well. So, with all of these areas that are going to be covered, you should be able to solve ACT math questions as quickly and as efficiently as possible, and hopefully get more questions right on the test and on your practice tests beforehand as well. So now I'm just going to talk a little bit about how the course is set up, what it's expected to cover, and the math section of the ACT in general. So let's go ahead and get started. Next, I'd like to talk about the intended audience for this Improve Your ACT Math Score course. So, who is this course for? Obviously, it's intended, primarily for anyone who wants to improve, his or her ACT math score. But it's going to be best suited for those students who are currently scoring below the 28 to 30 range and aiming to score, in that range or above it. And so what I mean by that is this course is generally not going to be targeted for students who are, say, aiming to achieve either perfect or near perfect scores, somewhere in like the 34, 35, 36 range. And the reason I say that is because it does not cover many of the advanced topics. So it does not focus on, for example, law of sines or law of cosines. It does not focus on trigonometric identities. It does not focus on ellipses or hyperbolas. So although it provides an excellent and robust review of algebra and geometry and probability and statistics, it generally does not cover the high-end topics that students aiming for a perfect score would definitely need to know and be able to understand in order to earn those scores on the ACT math section. This course has several purposes in it. So first and foremost, it's to reinforce, the concepts and topics that you have learned in previous math courses, such as Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry, or in, say, Math 1 through 3, if you're on that type of sequence. In addition to that, there will be probably some new concepts that you might not have learned yet or not have covered that appear on the ACT that will be covered in this course, and so that you will be taught and you will learn. And then in addition to that, one of the other purposes is to learn the strategies and techniques that you can use on multiple choice questions to help you solve some of these math problems in multiple ways. And finally, another purpose of it is to learn how to do operations on a graphing calculator so that you can either solve problems completely or to use the graphing calculator to assist you in solving problems in a quicker and much more efficient manner. So with all of that in mind, the overall goal, of course, is to improve your ACT math score. And that could be for a variety of reasons. It might just be for gaining admission to the college of your choice, or it could be for earning a scholarship, whether it's from the college itself or whether it's from maybe your state that you're currently located in, which has a minimum ACT score requirement in order to qualify for a scholarship. Now I'd like to talk about some of the specific content of the course, including the different modules that make up my Improve Your ACT Math Score course. The first module focuses on strategies and techniques, and so these are the specific strategies and techniques that you can use to solve multiple choice questions on the math section of the ACT. And they include things such as using process of elimination, drawing a picture and/or estimating, back solving, and picking numbers. The second module is going to focus exclusively on calculator operations. Here, you're going to learn the specific functions and operations that you can perform on a TI-84 Plus model graphing calculator, which will help you solve many different types of problems on the ACT math section, some of them entirely from start to finish, or some of them just partially. And so it's going to cover very basic things such as converting between decimals and fractions and mixed numbers to more advanced things like performing operations on matrices or solving systems of equations or finding the zeros or roots of a function or of an equation, or finding the maximum and minimum value of a function. Then the third module is going to be a review of the main algebra-related topics that are featured on the ACT. And so that's going to include areas such as linear equations, also linear inequalities, obviously lines, slopes, graphing, both lines and other functions, exponents, radicals, including simplifying and operations on radicals, factoring, complex numbers, and many other topics as well. The fourth module in the course is a comprehensive review of geometry. So topics that will be covered in it include angles, parallel lines, triangles and properties and different types of them, similar triangles, right triangles, including the special types of right triangles, basic trigonometry, area formulas, shaded area problems, border area problems, in addition to other topics as well. And then the fifth and last module covers topics related to probability and statistics, in addition to some other miscellaneous topics that appear frequently on the ACT math section. So in terms of the statistics topics, some of the ones that are covered include mean, median, and mode of a data set, weighted averages, outliers, and histograms and frequency tables. While some of the probability-related topics include, just general probability, finding the probability of independent events, how to read probability from a two-way table, permutations, combinations, and the slot method. Some of the miscellaneous or additional topics that are covered are sequences, specifically arithmetic and geometric, and then also repeating sequences, or basically repeating patterns, unit conversions, matrices, and vectors, again, in addition to some other topics as well. Now, the way the course is going to be set up is that you'll have there are 5 main modules like I just talked about, and within each of those modules, there are going to be mini lessons, covering some specific topic, like say special right triangles, or solving a system of equations, and then so each of those mini lessons, covering that topic, will then have an explanation related to it, whether that's a formula or whether that's written out steps to solve that particular type of problem. And in addition to that, almost all of the topics have practice problems with them as well. And now the second module, the one that's on calculator operations, will also show all the work completed on a graphing calculator. And the specific model that I use is a TI-84 plus C. And so what I mean by that is, the steps are going to be listed on the screen, like on the slide, how to do the specific operation. But then you'll also see, my calculator on the screen as well, and see me punch in, the specific steps or type in the, specific keys on the calculator in order to perform the operation. So you'll actually see it done on a graphing calculator. Then, once you get to the end, of each module, there's going to be a worksheet to complete, which you could basically view as homework. And the worksheets just cover, all the topics that were featured in the module. And the worksheets have between 25, to 36 problems on them. And the goal is to, complete the worksheet as kind of a check for understanding of, what was covered in each module. And then once you're done with the worksheet, you go ahead, you can check the answers to it, and then you can watch the full video solutions to any or all of the problems from the worksheet that you would like, on the course website. And one last thing to mention is that most of the problems, both in the the mini lessons covering the topics and also on the worksheets, are just problems from old ACT tests that have been released. There are a couple that aren't a couple problems that I've made up, but for the most part, these are the problems straight from the official ACT tests that students have taken in previous years. Now I'd just like to give you a little bit of background information about myself. So I am a current, professional math tutor with going on now 21 plus years of experience. Having worked with hundreds of different students, ranging from 7th grade math up through and including Calculus 2 at the college level, in addition to a test prep, such as the ACT math and science sections, the SAT math sections, and also the quantitative section of the GRE exam. I also have experience having been a high school math teacher over a period of 7 years, and during that time I taught numerous courses including Algebra 1, Algebra 2, geometry at both the regular and honors level, college algebra, integrated math, and calculus. So I have significant experience, having taught basically almost all the courses whose material is featured on the math section of the ACT. And I've seen multiple improvements in ACT math scores from the students I've worked with, ranging anywhere from 5 to 9 points. I also have a Bachelor of Arts degree with majors in physics and economics, and a Bachelor of Science degree with a major in applied mathematics. And then later on I earned a master's degree, Masters of Science specifically, with a major in sport management. Next, I'd just like to talk about some basic information about the ACT math section in general. If you have already taken the ACT, especially multiple times, then you can probably skip this video because most of the information on here you'll probably be familiar with already. So the ACT math section has 60 questions on it, and you have 60 minutes to complete that. And that comes out to roughly 1 minute per question, on average. Now, the number of questions that you answer correctly is what will be your raw score. In other words, how many of the 60 questions that you get correct is your raw score. And notice that there's no guessing penalty, so you obviously want to fill in, every single answer blank, even if you say don't know how to do the question or don't have time to complete it. Then that raw score basically gets changed to a scaled score, which is the score from basically 0 to 36, based on a conversion factor or a curve, so to speak. Now the conversion factor is unique to every test, and it is decided before the test is given. All the questions, are multiple choice, so there are no free response or fill in the blank or grid in questions like you do have on the SAT. So that means that the correct answer is given to you. It's one of the 5 choices listed there in the problem. And that also means that you can use techniques which are covered in the first module of this course, such as back solving or picking numbers or eliminating answers, to help you solve these problems when you might not know, the traditional method to solve them. The test is usually set up with the easier questions first and the harder questions towards the end. It doesn't mean that it's a straight, say, linear relationship where the last 10 questions are the hardest 10, and so on. But in general, you do tend to find the easier questions at the beginning and the more difficult questions towards the end of the test. And this test is different than a typical math test you might take in school because there is no partial credit. Basically, it's either you get it correct and you get a point, or you get it wrong and you get no points. However, because it is a multiple choice test, you are given what the correct answer is, as one of your 5 choices, although, technically you could say it's hidden because you don't know which of those 5 it is when you first look at the problem. And secondly, all questions are worth the same amount regardless of how difficult they are. As I just mentioned, if it's correct, basically you get a point. If it's incorrect, you get no points. It doesn't matter how easy the question was to solve or how difficult it was. So those are some of the things to keep in mind as you're taking, the ACT math test. And following up on that, now I'd just like to talk about kind of some, general strategies to use on the math section of the ACT. So the first thing is that, primarily, you're most likely going to want to be focusing on the easy to medium difficulty questions. So don't worry about or use excessive time on especially difficult or challenging questions because, like I said, the average time per question you get is very small, only 1 minute. So if you end up taking, 2, 3, 4 minutes trying to solve one single problem, that could cause you to miss out on, 2 or 3 or 4 questions later in the test that you might know how to solve but just didn't get a chance to look at because you ran out of time. And the whole goal of this course is basically to solve questions as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So in some cases, that might be, kind of the straightforward traditional method that you learned in school. But in a lot of problems, it won't be. So whenever possible, you want to use time-saving techniques instead of, say, potentially using algebra or doing things out by hand. And one important part of that is being familiar with the calculator. Not only all the operations that I'm going to cover in the second module of this course, but also being able to do simple things like, typing in a multi-step calculation as one line rather than like typing in each operation separately and then having to constantly hit enter and enter and enter to get your answer. So things like that can help save you time and also help you, reduce errors when solving problems. And then lastly, basically what you need to do on a lot of these problems is think differently about them. And so what I mean by that is, normally if you're given a math problem, or say you're sit down to take a traditional math test in school, you would have a question in front of you, you would read the question, and then you would think, okay, how do I solve this problem? What are the steps I go through in order to find the solution to this system of equations, or to find the solution, to this equation with radicals, or whatever it is. And then you try to remember those steps, and you would go through and write them out and solve them. However, because this is a multiple choice test, a lot of times there may be a faster or easier way to solve this problem. And so, for example, I already talked about process of elimination briefly. That's the whole idea that, eliminating the wrong answers may be easier and quicker than actually finding the right answer. So, when you sit down and you're working through practice problems, or you're taking the actual official test, when you look at a question, what you need to think to yourself is there a faster, easier way to solve this problem? And basically what I'm asking is, as compared to the way you may have learned, in your math class in school previously. Last, I'd just like to talk about some of the required materials that you should have on hand as you're working through the course. So obviously having some paper and also some type of writing instrument, whether it's a pen or a pencil, is essential. Not only to work out, some of the problems that we're going to go through, but also to jot things down, or possibly make little notes for yourself from the videos or from the slides, as we're going through and demonstrating topics, demonstrating techniques, or going through problems. And then the second item that's going to be, generally required for this course is a graphing calculator. So as I mentioned, the second module of the course deals entirely with calculator operations and showing you, how to do different operations on a graphing calculator, which will help you either solve problems in their entirety or assist you in solving problems. And just to let you know, the model of the calculator that's going to be used for demonstrating the operations is going to be a TI-84 plus C model. The standard TI-84 plus is very, very similar to it. There are only about 2 or 3 of the operations I cover which are different than it, and I basically show how those, you do those operations just slightly differently on a TI-84 plus compared to the plus C model. But definitely would recommend that, if you don't have one of those model graphing calculators, that you purchase one of them. Again, TI-84 plus, or ideally a TI-84 plus C, which is a newer version, basically has color, whereas the TI-84 plus is just the older version that doesn't, have color. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started with the first module in the course, which deals with strategies and techniques.